In the quiet hallways of St. Clair's Hospital, where time often felt like it stood still, Room 6 overlooked the hospital garden. It wasn't the most exciting view, just a trimmed lawn, a few bushes, and a single bench beneath a gnarled oak tree. But for Grace, a nurse nearing retirement, that window held the heartbeat of her daily purpose. Grace had worked at the hospital for 37 years. She was known for her calm, gentle voice, and the way she remembered little things. How Mr. Hargrove liked 2 sugars in his tea. How Ms. Elena needed her rosary near her pillow. And how to coax a smile out of a child post-surgery. But it was Room 6 that pulled at her heartstrings most days. In Room 6 was a man named Jonah. He was in his early 30s but looked far older, thin, pale, and silent. He'd been admitted after a severe accident that left his body broken and his spirit more so. Every day he sat by the window and watched in silence. Never a word, no visitors, just the garden and that oak tree. Grace didn't know his full story, only that he was a music teacher before the accident and hadn't spoken since. But she never rushed him. Every shift, she'd enter quietly, open the blinds to let in the morning light, and greet him with the same words. "Good morning, Jonah. It's another day. Let's make it a soft one." Sometimes she'd bring fresh flowers for the room. Other times she'd hum old jazz tunes while checking his vitals. And once a week, she'd leave a note by his bedside, little quotes from famous composers. Or just lines like "The world still waits for your music." One rainy afternoon, Grace noticed a change. Jonah's eyes lingered longer when she hummed. His fingers twitched slightly when she adjusted his sheets. It was almost imperceptible, but Grace believed healing often started in silence. That weekend, Grace came in on her day off, holding something different, a worn-down ukulele. She had borrowed it from a patient's grandson who had left it behind. Placing it on the small table near the window, she simply said, "No pressure. It's just company." Weeks passed. The ukulele sat untouched, till one morning Grace heard it. A faint, almost hesitant strum. She turned and saw Jonah's fingers gently brushing the strings. His eyes were closed. It wasn't music yet, but it was a sound, a start. Grace said nothing. She just sat beside him that day and listened. The next few weeks brought more sounds, soft chords, awkward rhythm, then melody. Then one morning Jonah whispered, "Thank you," his first words in months. They began to talk, little by little. Grace learned that Jonah had been driving to visit a student the night of the accident. That student had once tried to take her life, and Jonah had promised her, "I'll always come if you call." He kept his promise, but a drunk driver cost him everything: mobility, speech, and purpose. Grace listened, never interrupted, and when Jonah cried, she let him. As spring arrived, Jonah moved from wheelchair to walking frame. His progress stunned even the therapists. They asked what changed. Simply said, "Someone reminded me the world still waits for my music." On Grace's retirement day, the hospital staff gathered in the courtyard. There was a small stage, decorated with string lights and sunflowers. Unexpectedly, Jonah walked up with his ukulele. Clearing his throat, he said, "This is for Grace, the woman who opened the blinds and gave me back the light." He sang a soft, haunting melody bar jazz part lullaby. Everyone stood in silence. Grace cried, openly and fully. It wasn't sadness. It was something deeper, fulfillment. Years later, Room 6 became a music therapy suite. There was a plaque by the window that read, "To those who sit by the garden near, song is not over." And in a nearby community center, Jonah now taught music to children, many of whom were recovering from trauma. On his desk sat a photo of a kind-eyed nurse, and above it, a sticky note with faded ink. "Good morning, Jonah. It's another day. Wait, let's make it a soft one." This touching story of healing, kindness, and the power of music reminds us that even the softest gestures can bring someone back to life. Would you help someone who once helped you with just a smile? Comment if this is the right way. Like and subscribe for more real kindness.